This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
An action.
It's time for the Jay Foreman Postgame Show.
Here's Coy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score!
Look to the left, and he kind of telegraphed it all the way. When the ball was tipped, Foreman's in the right spot.
Sponsored by Anderson Ford, Tanner's Bar and Grill, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Tavern 180, Vinny Krepak of State Farm Insurance, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical.
Here's Fuente dropping back, fires a pass, and it's intercepted by the Huskers at the 25, Jay Foreman. And Foreman takes it down to the 19-yard line of Oklahoma. Another big play by the Black Shirts.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All righty, welcome in. It may not have been pretty, but it's a win for the Nebraska Huskers as they are 3-0 for the first time since 2016 as they knock off the University of Northern Iowa 34-3 at Memorial Stadium. Nebraska 3-0 for the first time since 2016, a season where they started 7-0, got as highly rated as 8th in the country before losing on the road to 11th rated Wisconsin back in 2016. But for now, Nebraska 3-0 overall. They knock off UNI 34-3. This is the Jay Foreman Postgame Show. Jay will join us in just a few moments. For now, Nick Sainert, Austin Orman alongside from our 93.7 The Ticket Studios, 1040 O Street here in downtown Lincoln. As we want to hear from you guys all show long, 402-464-5685. The Honda of Lincoln hotline and the Starter Heyman text line are open for you guys. The entire post-game show will be here till about 11 o'clock or so, breaking down Nebraska and their 34-3 victory here within the next hour or so on 93.7 The Ticket. You guys can reach out to myself on Twitter, Austin on Twitter, Nick_Sainert, Austin_Orman, Foreman. You can reach out to him on Twitter if you'd like to. Foreman5644 on the X sphere. If you so desire. Nebraska, once again, 34-3. Dylan Rhule finishes the day 17 of 23 through the air for 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 74% completion percentage. They threw that graphic on the TV screen that may be appealing to some folks where he's the first true freshman in the entire country since 2012 and Marcus Mariota to have a 70-plus completion percentage in his first 3 games. But there you have it for Dylan Rhule. He does throw his first collegiate interception. After that interception, we did not see Dylan Rhule as Heinrich Haarberg came into the game. Heinrich finishes 3 of 3 through the air for 34 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs. Nebraska on the ground, not a whole lot of carries by one single guy, but a lot of people did carry the rock as Dante Dowdell led the team in carries, 6 attempts, 55 rushing yards, no touchdowns, but did have a long of 38 yards. Emmett Johnson with 4 carries, 50 yards, and a score. Later in that game on that 36-yard touchdown run, we saw Ja'Cory Barney take that handoff for a touchdown earlier in the game on his 1 carry. And then how about this? Carter Nelson leads the Huskers in receiving yards with 4 catches, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Maybe more importantly, 4 catches on 4 targets today. Nebraska forced 1 turnover. They forced 2 other fumbles from the University of Northern Iowa, did not recover either one of those. However, Nebraska did record 1 sack defensively. We'll get into all of that more extensively and deeper as the show goes on. But Austin, we welcome you in. Hello.
Hey, Nick.
What are your thoughts on Nebraska's 34-3 victory?
It happened. Of all the college football games that have been played, this was one of them. You know, exciting start for Nebraska, scoring on the first 3 drives, looked really good, looked like everything was clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get more of the same, right? The offense grinds to a halt a little bit. It slows down. You get the field goals after the half. You get Dylan Rhule slipping and falling with a chance to punch one in there. It felt like last week, but like store brand.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if the Colorado game was big name brand college football game, this felt similar in a lot of ways, but minus a lot of the zest, minus a lot of the verb and that same energy. Colorado moved the ball at times. Northern Iowa moved the ball at times.
Yeah, the first drive of the game for Northern Iowa.
Right, which was different than Colorado,
yes.
right, early in the game, to be fair. Northern Iowa dominated time of possession. They had the ball for almost 40 minutes, which makes it hard to really nitpick the Nebraska offense too much in my books, but I know there's plenty to talk about still. I don't want to say it was a weird game. I don't think that does a service to the game. It was a game Nebraska controlled. Just like last week, you never really felt like Nebraska was in danger of losing it. And I guess the positive takeaway as a fan is it leaves you wanting so much more.
Yeah.
And yet Nebraska won by 4 possessions.
We were having multiple conversations as we were watching the later stages of this game, Austin, here in our 93.7 The Ticket Studios. And I think what we continue to go back to was like, what is the expectation? Like, imagine we were having the conversations regarding, man, Nebraska's rushing attack was fine, right? It was padded with the Emmett Johnson run at the end of the game. And I preface all of this, and I will say we preface all of this with, in no way, shape, or form are we complaining that Nebraska got the job done. And in no way, shape, or form. Because guess what? They're in uncharted waters. They're 3-0. Jay will talk about it once he gets here, talking about learning how to handle success. And frankly, the conversations that we were having before August 31st about what this team needed to do to live up to the expectation, they've done it. As we sit here on September 14th after game 3, they've lived up to the expectation. And why? Simple answer in its simplest form is they have 3 wins and 0 losses.
That's what ultimately matters in the end. We can nitpick, we can go through, we can critique plenty. I think if you look back to before the game, and we're predicting these big scores. Yes. Oh, is this a shutout for Nebraska? We'll see. I mean, only a field goal away.
Essentially.
On the first drive, really, Nebraska pitched a shutout for really 45 minutes because Northern Iowa held the ball for 10, 11 minutes on their first drive. But this game to me emphasizes what I was trying to say last week with Colorado. It doesn't matter how long Nebraska holds the ball if Nebraska is not going to score. Ended up not mattering. But Northern Iowa had the ball for 38 minutes. If you tell someone that Northern Iowa is going to have a day where it feels like they were successful running the ball, I'm not going to say they weren't. I mean, they had 139 yards on the ground. They averaged 3.5 yards per carry. So essentially 40 for 140 is what they did. That's not great. It's not terrible. For a run-first team, they're going to tell you they wanted more. But with the expectations we've placed on this defense, it feels like, oh my gosh, Nebraska has so much to fix. So much went wrong. But again, you win it by 31 points.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't get up into the 40s again or the 50s like I had predicted doesn't mean it was a bad game, right? Nebraska was in control. Nebraska did its work early, and then it kept the team at Northern Iowa at arm's length. I wanted Nebraska to score in all 4 quarters. Guess what? They scored in all 4 quarters. Emmett Johnson's touchdown didn't come against scrubs. It still came against the majority of the starters for Northern Iowa's defense. So it still counts just the same. Just because it didn't go perfectly to script doesn't mean you turn down Nebraska being 3-0.
Well, and now it makes, once again, the game next weekend and a couple of the games down the road that we can certainly get into in the next couple of minutes more intriguing without looking too far down the road. It certainly makes it more intriguing because now what awaits you next Friday night at 7 p.m. It's a 3-0 3-0 Illinois Fighting Illini team, a Brett Bielema head coached team that Brett is 3-1 against you in his career at Illinois. So you have that piece of it too. I do want to get to a couple of comments on our video stream, and I know we need to let Jay Foreman in our doors here. So if you don't mind going to do that here, Austin. So once again, I hear from Michael on the video stream. Michael, and we want to get your guys' thoughts. 402-464-5685. Michael says Rhule throws 2 balls better. It's 48-3, but the guy was 17 of 23 for 247, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception in his 3rd career game. That's good enough in my book. And Michael, I agree with you, man. Like that's where it's, once again, I think tonight's a good opportunity for us to maybe reset expectation, to sit here and go, you know what? Yeah, maybe the expectation, we can sit here and say, yeah, shutout. Let's do the shutout thing, right? However, man, Nebraska's taking care of business when they're supposed to be taking care of business. As Austin said, they scored in all 4 quarters. Would you like to see 13 points in the 3rd quarter or a touchdown? No, but you can look at it glass half full, Austin, and say, guess what? Maybe those 2 field goals are the boost that Tristan Alvano needed, because there's going to be a time down the road, and as we are starting to see the college football and the Big Ten Conference kind of shape up and shape out, through these first 3 weeks. Next week, there's a very good chance that a Tristan Alvano field goal or 2 Alvano field goals are the deciding factors. Against Indiana in a couple of weeks could be the same case. Who knows what's awaiting the Huskers down the road? For tonight, celebrate the 34-3 win. Celebrate the fact that Nebraska's 3-0. Are there things to clean up? Absolutely.
Right. I think you raise a great point there. But again, I think it goes back to what you've been saying about expectations. The expectation is that Nebraska's offensive line would bowl over and dominate Northern Iowa. That didn't necessarily happen. Nebraska had a couple big explosive runs, but it wasn't necessarily the most workmanlike performance on the ground. It wasn't a ground and pound day. And I think there's a conversation to be had, not positive or negative, but we just have to have a conversation about Marcus Satterfield and set the expectations for him at some point, whether that's tonight or throughout the week. But if your expectation is for Nebraska to dominate on the ground, to punch Northern Iowa in the mouth, then you are absolutely let down by 2 field goals. You're let down by, Dylan Rhule slipping and falling, right? If you're getting too cute, you don't want to get too cute, right? Just hand the ball off to a running back, right? But I don't want to fault Marcus Satterfield for getting creative, right? Who would have expected it? Do I think Dylan scores? Probably not. I mean, the linebacker was right there. He would have had to make him miss even before he fell down. So, yeah, the negative is you got too cute. You didn't punch it in. You weren't able to run the ball as effectively as fans wanted. But who knows if that was Nebraska's game plan going in? Maybe Nebraska wanted to try to air it out. Maybe Nebraska wanted to get more creative, and we can argue if that's the right or wrong game plan. But yeah, it's not a bad thing to try to get Tristan Alvano's mind right. Touchdowns, of course, are preferable to field goals, but in a 31-point game, I'm not going to harp on it.
All right, now with that, let's bring in Jay Foreman, the Husker Hall of Famer. Jay, 34-3 victory. Ultimate initial thoughts on Nebraska's 3-0 start.
W is a W. A little bit different than last week. Obviously there's always stuff to clean up. But you know what? You got to tip your hat to Northern Iowa. They were going to be tough. The coach has been there for a while. They have a well-established program. They got tough players, good players as well. And they're physical too, man. I mean, they got 2 big backs trying to run. So, it's a learning process, I think, for this team to learn how to deal with success last week. High pressure, big magnitude game, no matter, what Colorado record or anything is. And then, turn around and play a pesky Northern Iowa team that's going to come in here and compete, and probably was inspired by some of the things that happened in Notre Dame and obviously Florida State in the weeks prior. So, look, man, I think the passing attack was good, ran the ball good at the end.
Yeah.
There's some things that we need to get better at. Obviously, keeping the ball a little bit longer. I think Northern Iowa won the possession.
Dramatically.
I think Nebraska did decently on 3rd down, just off the top of my head. And so I just think it's, the little things. I think that the big takeaway I would probably say is that the 2 field goals, it's kind of like a catch-22, right? You got Tristan Alvano, some kicks, and anytime you see the ball going through the uprights, that's confidence. But ultimately, you want that confidence to come probably from extra points. Those 2 field goals that he kicked, I think late in the first half and the second half drive, first or second drive, you like to see those be 7 points. You do that, then it's a totally different ball game. So I think it's just another step in the process of learning how to be a dominant team. It doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't. I'm sorry to tell you. Now I think they're trending in the right way. I think the defense played good enough, forced a couple turnovers. Obviously, want to do some things better, obviously. Yeah. But by saying this is like, I think sometimes, and I fell victim to this too. Sometimes you think like, okay, you're playing Northern Iowa, you should just obliterate them, and they should have negative 10 yards rushing, 5 yards passing. We should have 4 turnovers, turn them all. I mean, that's just
you view them as an incompetent football team.
So you can talk yourself into that.
Yeah.
And then you can look at, okay, we're in the Big Ten and all that. I think styles make fights. The way they play generally keeps the game a little bit closer. And they're a big, at least on offensive line, they're a big, good looking offensive line.
Yeah.
2 good looking tight ends, decent wide receivers. Quarterback is a little quirky, but what he did is we beat him up pretty good, knocked him out of the game, but he gets outside the pocket. And at the beginning of the game, he was making enough throws to keep us off balance. So, I think ultimately it was a victory. I guess we did backdoor cover, right?
Hey, it was
courtesy of Minnesota's finest.
That is right,
Emmett Johnson.
It was dicey for a second there on Northern Iowa's final possession.
Yeah, but I mean,
for those that it's significant to.
But I think ultimately, I think this is the game. I think it kind of went. I thought we were going to pull away a little bit earlier, but I knew it was going to be kind of a grudge match, kind of, rock 'em sock 'em type of game, just because that's the way they play, and Nebraska's okay with playing that way, and also coming off of the big emotional victory against Colorado.
Is it okay to say that it felt similar to last week, minus the pomp and the cameras and the notoriety of who you were playing? Like it felt similar to where maybe Nebraska you would have liked to see last week, and certainly there are penalties involved in the game against Colorado. But in like this week, it's similar to last week. You felt like Nebraska could have pulled away visually, but in the stadium, it never felt like Nebraska was really tested against Colorado. And tonight, it never was in doubt whether or not Nebraska was going to lose this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just get to the point that I think the biggest thing is we want to get to the point where we don't like if you're like analogy is if like you're a lion or a tiger, you don't want to play with your food. You don't want to play around.
You don't want to leave doubt.
Right. You want to get to this point where we really drive it in there. Now you got to go through the process of learning how to do that. And sometimes you can look towards the end while you're in the moment. Here's an analogy I get. I always tell like kids that I coach in basketball, don't clock watch, because then you start to say, okay, well, we're up by 15. Okay, I'll let a guy hit a three. Yep. Well, next thing you know, in 45 seconds, it's under double digits. Now you're in a ball game. Finish, keep playing. And I think once they did a better job of it this week. Yeah. Especially against a pretty pesky defense that was going to compete to the end, as you saw on the play with Jalen Lloyd and stuff like that. So, I think it's a hard-earned victory. If you came to Memorial Stadium not thinking or knowing who you were playing and what you were going to get, you set yourself up for like emotional failure.
Once again, 402-464-5685, Honda of Lincoln Hotline, the Starter Heyman text line. We'll be here till 11 o'clock or so as we break down Nebraska's 34-3 victory over Northern Iowa. Once again, Jay Foreman alongside here, Nick Sainert on the Jay Foreman Postgame Show. All right, let's get to some of the thoughts from our YouTube video stream from Big Red Bass or Bass. Props to Northern Iowa. Their play was crisp. They play really hard. They know what they want to do, and their quarterbacks have some wheels and make quicker decisions. They were no pushover on that one. Lance on the Facebook stream says they were more physical. Wasn't expecting that out of Northern Iowa. It kind of goes back to what you said, Jay, about that you can't just walk in expecting this to be a pushover, even if they're in the FCS, even if they're number 21 in the FCS, whatever the case may be. And now you look ahead and you turn the page to Big Ten conference play, and you expect it to even crank up a little bit more of a notch, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, you expect it, but you just never know. I mean, I think just because they're ranked 21, there's not a big difference between, in my opinion, I've watched a lot of FCS, games. There's not a big difference between like number anywhere from 4 through 6 and 21. There isn't. It's just a matter of, what people are like, what they're trying to project you are at the beginning of the season. The way that they play in the FCS will allow them to play against anybody. The one texter is completely right. They know exactly what they want to do. They were crisp. This is the same, kind of identity that's been there for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So they know exactly who they are when they get off the bus. They played pretty good, pretty well. They probably think they could have played a little bit better. And the quarterback poses a problem, both of them, because they could run a little bit and throw it well enough on the run, or, get it to guys where they can keep getting first downs. And so we did a better job than their opponent last week at, playing against the run. So it gave us more chances to get off the field. And then, on the flip side, as far as like projecting to next week, Illinois, I think this game helps because it's the same type of offense, big back. And then, you're on a day shorter, like rest or whatever. So you got to flip the page immediately, like literally right now. Obviously probably at some point in time address, whatever issues they see, that have to be addressed. But then you have to dive head first into this Illinois game because it's a tremendous opportunity. They're 3-0. We're 3-0. 6:30 game and night again, which I think helps us more than them. And people will ask why. Why does it help us more than them? One, we're playing at home, so you get more rest, recovery, and chance, and also you can get a little bit more intel and into the game plan because you're at home. Whereas, like, for instance, they'll leave, I think, Champaign, they'll fly Thursday, right? Thursday. So yeah, they'll be looking at their iPads and stuff like that, but there's not in the comfort of their facility, and everything that they're doing is condensed schedule wise because they got to get out of town. Then they get here, they're in a hotel. You don't have all your tools you need to get, healthy, right? Where we're here, we're able to get ice treatment, whatever we need to do. We're able to get all our meals in, good meals, and we're on schedule versus, their travel schedule, can hurt them a little bit.
Once again, 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, the Starter Heyman text line. Let's get into the rushing attack for Nebraska because you look at the simple play calls. Nebraska as a team attempted 26 passes on the day. As a team, they attempted 22 rushes. No real running back here got a bulk of the carries. Dante Dowdell was your leading rusher with 6 carries. He had 4 carries early on in the game and had a 38-yard run at one point as well. But then in the second half, only got 2 carries. And maybe part of it, Jay, was because Nebraska was frankly in control. But we saw Emmett Johnson get some more touches. He finishes with 4 carries for 50 yards. Obviously, the 36-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter there certainly boosted his statistic a little bit. But outside of that, right, no real running back here got the bulk of the carries. You didn't see a guy like with Northern Iowa where their quarterback rushed it 11 times. Pesek Hickson, rushed it 11 times. Ty Edwards had it 10 times. What do you read into that? The fact that Nebraska didn't really give a lion's share to a specific guy tonight?
No, not at all. Because I think they were doing pretty consistent things in the passing game. Right? I mean, that first drive. I mean, you hit Carter Nelson twice. Welcome to the big time freshman.
Which it feels like they really want to incorporate Carter Nelson. Which maybe we can get to that in a second.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is like I said, Nebraska's able to do different things offensively at every single position because they have options and they're slowly but surely starting to get answers. But then also, more importantly, they have different body types and skill sets at the same position. Mm-hmm. So at that slot or whatever, you got was it Bonner, and then you got Carter Nelson, and then you got IGC. You got 3 different guys and different body types. And what that does, it puts a lot of pressure on preparation on the defensive coaches and the players to understand personnel, and then they all can be in there at the same time or mix and match and cause matchup problems. Then you got you had a big pass to Jalen Lloyd, a lot of backs out of the backfield, but I think you saw Nair and then Jamal Banks. I think Northern Iowa did a good job of locking them down, but I think the one thing I like is Nebraska attacked the middle of the field with Barney.
Yeah.
And Nair once, Emmett Johnson, and obviously Carter Nelson was probably the star of the game because he had those 2 plays right in that first drive. I mean, Nebraska, the first 2, I would say even a little bit 3 till they kind of stubbed their own toe. They literally walked the ball down the field.
Yes.
And they were doing it however they wanted. They could run it a couple times, like you said. You could mix it, you could spread it around. And I think that's what, makes an offense hard to stop, is where you're not just fixated on one guy. So I don't read anything into the carries. Nebraska, didn't have to run the ball, to that clip. I'm sure if they had to, they would have cranked it up when they needed to.
That could also be why time of possession numbers is simply a little misleading, right? Because Nebraska, you look at time of possession numbers, and you have 38 minutes and 7 seconds specifically for Northern Iowa, 21 minutes and 53 seconds for Nebraska. But you look at the first drive for Nebraska, it took 3 minutes off the clock. It wasn't like it was an unsustainable drive. They had 8 plays, 75 yards, and 320, and they got a touchdown. The second drive, 7 plays, 75 yards, and 320, touchdown. The third drive, 4 plays, 80 yards, 2 minutes off the clock, touchdown. You're talking about 3 scores on 3 straight possessions that took up approximately just 8.5 minutes of game clock.
Yeah.
That's why time of possession numbers can be on the surface just a little misleading at times.
Yeah, and Nebraska was pretty efficient offensively, especially in the first half. And like I said, they were doing whatever they wanted. And that was great to see. Now, obviously, from the fan standpoint and everybody else, and I'm sure Coach Rhule will be like, I want to see it every single time. That's not realistic, but you would like a little bit more consistency in that second half. And then they didn't crank up the running game probably as much as I thought they would, but I think they were efficient enough in the passing game to do well. Now, also what people have to understand is that the way that Northern Iowa plays, and they were running the ball decently, and they were making enough plays, especially in the first half.
Yeah,
they're going to control the time of the clock, especially when we're scoring so frequently and easily. And also when they snap the ball, it's a little bit later in the play clock. So they're playing time of possession no matter what the score is or who's in the game and what the time or the situational football is. And so they got a lot of touches, and Nebraska was able to get a lot of chances out there. I mean, when you think about it, though, I'm not sure if it was mentioned before, a lot of players still played, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
That was a good thing to see. I don't think Jamari played. I don't think he played. And, you got to think, Mekhi Bayer was out until the second half. He got in a little bit. You got a lot of extended action with Stephon Thompson. Obviously, I think Bullock is starting to kind of establish himself. He had another good game along with everybody else. And it was good to see Hartzog back-to-back weeks get picks. Even though it was thrown right to him, you still got to make those plays. And so a lot of guys, especially in that first and second level, the defense, and particularly that first level, played. A lot of guys got in there. Saw Princewell in there. I mean, he had a magnificent hit on the quarterback.
Went right through the running back.
And destroyed the quarterback. So, and then you saw, different DBs. You even saw Branch in there.
Yeah.
I think Jacoby or Britz was in there.
Jeremiah Charles.
You saw a lot of different guys in there. So on the sneak, I don't know if it was mentioned in Matt Rhule's press conference, they got a lot of guys playing time. Now, what a coach would tell you is it doesn't matter if the first guy's in there, first string guys or second string guy. The standard is the standard, and execution needs to be the execution. And so that's the thing that they'll be able to harp on. And that's a good thing. But then also they had maybe a game plan, and the game didn't go as perfect as they would like, as everybody else would have liked. But ultimately, I think they got a lot more out of the game. And what this reminds me of, Nick, and there's no comparison between the two coaches. I remember when Clemson, they were in the college football playoffs eventually at the end of the year. And they played a home game. And I forget who they played. It was Clemson, and they it was kind of like this. It was a kind of choppy game going into the game. Everybody thought Clemson's going to be able to clear the benches. Well, Dabo Swinney said, listen, I'm building depth. Everybody's getting in there. So he pulled the starters a little bit early, even though the game was mathematically within reach. But then when he got interviewed on his way off the field, and then in his press conference, he explained the whole mindset and what he was thinking about doing. And obviously it was a process that he said he had been doing for years. They just hadn't picked up on it, because obviously everybody picks up on everything when you start winning.
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying. He's like, look, I've been doing this forever. And, so I don't know if that was I can't speak for Coach Rhule or anything like that, but I know a lot of guys played. That's why. So, on both sides of the ball as well, because you saw the second string offensive line getting in there.
Well, you had second string right from the get go with Micah Mazuka out.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a plethora of guys, but Lutovsky was, kind of like a co-starter anyways.
He's been a starter.
Yeah, he's been a starter before, and of course, next man up, and hopefully, Mazuka gets back, from his injury or whatever. But it changes, because you got to think, with Jamari Butler out, you had to get more Cam Linhart. You had to, with Cam Linhart play some. It brought in Jackson a little bit. Then you brought in my man number 97. I think his last name is Davis. Then you saw some more of MJ Sherman, Princewell. You saw it was. I wouldn't say that, look, you want to just go out there and do it without a plan. But I think they also are putting a lot of guys out there that have built their trust. This is one thing I know, that you ain't going out there unless they trust you.
Yeah.
And number one, how do you get a coach to trust you? You got to go out and earn it. So I think it's not all rosy, it's not perfect, obviously. But I think it's a game that I knew that Northern Iowa was going to come in and compete.
Yeah, some more notable names that got playing time on the defensive side. We talked about it, right? Keona Davis is who you were referring to.
Number 97.
He got first quarter snaps.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So on that defensive line, Kai Wallen was out there once again. Mason Goldman, who I believe is a Gretna Dragon alum, got some playing time. We saw Amari Sanders again, Derek Branch, like you reference to a couple minutes ago, Ramir Stewart as well. Mario Buford, right, who had a very nice fundamentally sound hit.
Oh yeah.
On their tight end. And now, unfortunately, the tight end Lane Pryor got hurt on that play.
Yeah.
But
he got put to sleep.
It was initially called targeting, but then reviewed, and it was a legal hit.
Yeah.
And it was a nice hit.
It's a bang play off of a tip ball.
Yeah.
There's a heart. I was talking to somebody about as a defender. There's nothing you could do. I'm going 100 miles an hour, and I'm 6'3", and the guy's say 5'11". He changes his target area, then technically is targeting. So look, that happens. But then like you mentioned, some of those guys. Also, look, Willis McGahee was in there.
Yes.
I think Shavers was in there. Definitely on special teams. So a lot of guys got in the game. I don't know the whole pitch count. Everybody got in, and it didn't change. Look, the defense could have very easy. This is the second week in a row UTEP, and then obviously Colorado wasn't this way. But 2 games out of the 3 where the backups or rotational guys go in, and nothing really changes. Now, was it as good as the execution as the starters? Especially, I'm talking about defensively. No, but the effort and the intent and the intensity is there, and that's why you see the run on with Emmett Johnson is when you look at the cause and effect. So at the beginning of that drive, Northern Iowa still was playing hard, and they kind of stuffed it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then they kind of got going, and then they got a couple first downs, and then boom, they kept at it, and they know who they were blocking, and obviously Emmett was able to take it to the house. And so that's how you got to beat opponents, and that's what you want to see from your second and third units, because sometimes those guys are brought into action, like you mentioned. Mazuka, whatever the reason is, it didn't play. Coach's decision. I just see when the coach something happened. Well, you know what, that could sometimes those decisions, and I've seen this, Nick, where coach's decisions or something comes up and that happens on a Friday or a Thursday, or Friday in the NFL, but like a Thursday. So if you're a guy that maybe on Wednesday didn't think you were going to start, well, you better be ready, because everybody's dependent on you, and you better play well, and you better earn your respect on the team. And so I think Henry Latosky did okay, and so obviously they're going to continue to improve. And so I think it's one of those things that this game here is onward or upward. And I think the good thing about it is there's probably 3 or 4 things they want to really get into, right? Just like last week, there's always going to be something you want to get into. And then you know what? You're forced right now. You don't have this 36-hour extended happy fest because you beat Colorado, right? Mm-hmm. You are literally right now, you're probably eating and stuff after the game, but literally when you get home, and if we're roommates, we're talking about Illinois. We're trying to, at least I'm maybe trying to look at okay, let's see if we can see who they played earlier. Let's look at that game, or maybe I know they have iPads and stuff. I'd probably be looking it up just to get a head start, because tomorrow is Illinois week.
Well, once again, Nebraska wins 34-3 against Northern Iowa, takes care of business 3-0 for the first time since 2016. We do have comments from the head coach, Matt Rhule. He talked about the 10-minute drive that Northern Iowa started out with against Nebraska's defense, talked about Dylan Rhule, obviously. I want to get Jay's thoughts on a couple of young guys, Carter Nelson, Ja'Cory Barney Jr. We're seeing week by week. You mentioned the trust factor, Jay. And we're seeing week by week where the staff is trusting and getting them action more and more every single week, giving them opportunities to make plays every single week. I want to get Jay's thoughts on that. We'll hear from Matt Rhule. Jay, we're up against the clock, though, so go ahead and send us to break, my man.
All right, we'll take a quick break. This is Jay Foreman Postgame Show. Quick break. Matt Rhule, Jay Foreman's thoughts on the young guys. We'll be right back.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Tanner's Bar and Grill is the best place in Lincoln for a casual get-together, best place to watch a game, and the best for pre- and post-game. Catch college and NFL football as well as the volleyball action this season at Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill. What's better than wings, cold beer, and a Husker win? Enjoy great food and drink specials every day and tons of TVs to catch all the action. Tanner's Bar and Grill, 30th and Yankee Hill.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started. It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Sea-Doo dealership. Score up to $300 off or a free 2-year warranty on 2024 Sea-Doo Sparks and $500 off or a free 2-year warranty on all other brand new 2024 Sea-Doos. Rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of September. On or off-road, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered with a large selection of motorcycles and watercraft in stock at their new 27th and I-80 location. Hurry in, the clock is running down.
Follow the Huskers to the City of Angels when Nebraska plays at USC in November. Book your official Nebraska alumni travel package at HuskerFanTravel.com. Choose from 2 or 3 night options that include a downtown LA hotel, exclusive welcome event, game day transportation, and the official Husker Huddle pregame party. Add on game tickets for an optional upgrade. Transportation to and from LA not included. Join the official Nebraska alumni trip to see the Huskers play at USC. Spots are limited, so book your trip now at HuskerFanTravel.com.
At Fairway Meat Market, your family. And as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now through September 15th, enjoy 8-ounce USDA Choice Boneless New York strip steaks for $7.99 each. USDA Choice Boneless Beef Crock Pot Roast for $4.99 per pound, fresh salmon fillets for $9.99 per pound, and Busch Light 30 packs for just $18.99. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn. HealthLink is elevating the human experience with holistic health, weight loss, nutrition, fitness, and wellness solutions. They offer one-on-one health coaching while personalizing nutrition and wellness plans for structure and simplicity. HealthLink provides nutritious foods such as high-protein entrees, meal replacement snacks, and supplements. But that's not all. If you mention 93.7 The Ticket, you'll get a 5% discount on your order and $20 off your first month if you start a HealthLink subscription. Find your missing link with HealthLink today on the southeast corner of 70th and Pioneers or by phone at 402-858-9356.
Disney on Ice presents Mickey's Search Party. Get closer to the magic than ever before. Play along with the Toy Story gang. Explore the colorful world of Coco. Sail away with Moana. Soar to new heights with Belle. And journey to Arendelle to thaw a frozen heart. It's an all-out celebration at Disney on Ice presents Mickey's Search Party. Coming to Pinnacle Bank Arena September 27th through 29th. Visit DisneyOnIce.com and get your tickets today.
Oh, Kansas.
Here we go. Make it happen today.
You just don't stop giving, do you?
Green flag, we're underway.
The closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history.
What a finish, boys.
Close to downtown, amazing campgrounds. 4 NASCAR races in one weekend, and it's the playoffs. Now you're just showing off. But we're not mad. In fact, we're looking forward to it. NASCAR Playoffs Weekend at Kansas Speedway, September 27th through the 29th. Get your tickets now at kansasspeedway.com.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Concerts keep rolling at Pinewood Bowl with a great show on Wednesday, September 18th. Bare Naked Ladies headlines with Toad the Wet Sprocket starting things off at 7 p.m. for a trip down 90s memory lane. Don't miss Bare Naked Ladies and Toad the Wet Sprocket on Wednesday, September 18th at Pinewood Bowl. Get tickets today at Ticketmaster.com.
Ready to hit the road in style? Liberty First Credit Union is revving up your ride with unbeatable auto loan specials. Cruise away with rates as low as 4.79% APR for 48 months on a 2020 or newer vehicle. Need a longer term? No worries. They've got you covered with 4.89 APR for 60 months and 4.99 APR for 72 months. Hurry, these rates are cruising fast, so don't get left in the dust. Visit LibertyFirstCU.com. Credit factors apply. Rates, terms, and conditions subject to change.
Explain to me again why we're sleeping on the ground.
Because we're thramping, thrift camping. It's saving us money and getting us closer to nature.
But we don't need to thramp. I just combined our home and auto insurance with our State Farm agent, so we have a rate that fits our budget.
All right. Do you think our agent can bring us an air mattress?
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Kreekak, at 402-474-1173.
Individual premiums and budgets will vary by customer. All applicants subject to State Farm underwriting requirements.
Jay Foreman Postgame Show. Sponsored by Anderson Ford, Tanner's Bar and Grill, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Tavern 180, Vinny Kreekak of State Farm Insurance, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical.
I like being 3-0. There's nothing that I hate. We're just going to get better each week. When we start Big Ten play, I kind of refer to this as the preseason. In my mind, we're learning how to win. As I told our team, the narrative of losing close games comes from trying to, when you get a lead, not trying to put the game away. And so the questions I get asked a lot are about like, hey, why aren't you guys doing more of this in the second half? Well, that's what led to a lot of close losses, right? So we want to score, get a lead if we can, play defense, and run the football. And then I want everyone to say, why are you guys so boring in the fourth quarter? And then we win. And that's sincere. So I just make sure my team hears that because they're kind of like that. That being said, we wanted to be aggressive a while because this was a good night for us to work on our passing game. And that's why we threw that post at the end. It was there. We thought we had it. Sounds like their kid made a play. I thought we came down with it, but we didn't. So it is what it is. But yeah, I think I'll watch the tape to see exactly where we are. It felt like early on we didn't tackle as well as we normally do. And but I did like the energy the defense came out with in the second half.
There you have it, Matt Rhule.
Yeah, I mean it's a game plan that that he knows and that's worked well before, and that's how you win. Though you got like the object of, and this might everybody might not like this, but the object is to win every game by at least 1 point.
Is that so?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, but I think sometimes, yes. I mean, listen,
we forget that.
Yeah, you forget because we got a lot of young fans like yourself. You guys are millennials. Listen, just listen.
We get so infatuated with the stat sheet. And how
exactly, because you guys are in the moment.
Don't say you guys.
It's you.
Okay.
And look, how many years have we been 3-0?
Not since 2016.
Okay, so this has been a long time. So all of a sudden we're 3-0, and we forgot the last 8-9 years of like misery. Right? Is that a fair assessment or a fair?
No, I don't think.
I think sometimes
the misery.
I think we were doing good. And now, granted, I would say this so people don't think like, oh, well, I'm just telling you what everybody wants to hear. There's a lot of things we need to do better. And trust me, people out here, the way I watch the game and the way I look at the game is totally different than you. I see things about what could be done better that has nothing to do with the score, because I think you do this better, it'll help the scores at the next week and the week after.
Sort itself out,
and it'll help you become a better team. But when you're 3-0, you're 3-0. And I'm going to tell you this right now, and this would be great if this season ends up like this. And this is how expectations can change. And this is how I remember when I went up to Minnesota after I worked down there with Frost. I went up to Minnesota after meeting PJ Fleck at Big Ten. I was up there seeing my dad, and when he told me I could come over there, and I went over there. He told me, and I remember this, when the year that they had their magical year.
Yep.
And
which was 2019?
2019. They were 3-0. I watched all three of those games. They should have lost to South Dakota State. They should have lost to Georgia Southern or whatever that school was, and they definitely should have lost to Fresno. And he said it, right? But they found a way to win. I will tell you this right now. The outside linebacker for South Dakota State forgot to drop to the flat and cover 3. It's an easy tackle. You make that tackle, game over. He doesn't. Minnesota gets it to the flat, ends up scoring. Georgia, I think it was Georgia Southern. Are you looking up right now?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. They were 11-2 this season.
Right. It was the first
7-2 in the conference.
Okay, go the first 3 games. Because they won. I think they beat Fresno in overtime out there. Because I remember Nebraska was out there.
So they start off the season with a 28-21 game on Thursday night against South Dakota State.
Right.
They win out at Fresno in overtime.
Yep.
38-35. Then they come back and they beat Georgia Southern at home by 3, 35-32.
So those 3 games, I remember watching those 3 games. And I was like, man, this is going to be rough. They could I'm thinking like, man, they could be 0-3. But then PJ Fleck was like, when you win those type of games, and they were not pretty. Okay. That's South Dakota State, those 7 points. Listen, I'm telling you right now, as a linebacker, I would still not be sleeping it if I missed that cover 3 drop and literally could have tackled the dude and win the game. And then you talk about Fresno. Yes, it's double overtime, but you would think first of all, they should have never been in the overtime because Fresno allowed them to get back into the game. To get into overtime, you go into double overtime, lose at home. Then you come home, Minnesota, after getting lucky, and you barely beat Georgia Southern by 3. You go on to have 11-2. And as the season went on, they got better offensively. They were sneaky good, opportunistic defensively.
Yeah. And
then they upset Penn State at the end of not the end of the season, but remember they stormed the field.
Start November.
Yeah, they beat Penn State. That was the game that it was kind of like, all right, let's see if they're for real and who Minnesota really is. And they beat Penn State. Now, how does that affect Minnesota right now? Now the expectations are changed. Now they've been doing it on a more ready basis. And then you start to lose coaches. You start to, have to, go out and hire different defensive coordinators, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
That's how you build a program. You have to have where you win games, maybe not the prettiest, but you got to learn how to win. And sometimes learning how to win is doing something that you don't like to do. Right? Because that's what everybody thinks, like, okay, well, you're up by 21-3. We got to start passing the ball. We got to score every single time. Well, guess what? We've been there before. People forget when Nebraska got in the Big Ten, first came in the Big Ten
against Wisconsin.
No. When Nebraska first came in the Big Ten, Urban Meyer introduced Bo Pelini to what it's like to play football.
Yes.
Nebraska was up
at Ohio State.
Up 21-0. Okay, that's when you need to start pounding the football.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor Martinez had hit a couple of deep passes. We come out and pass. Okay, they get the ball back. They score. Oh, we're going to keep passing. We're up by 14 because we've been passing before. Okay, 3 and out again. 14 or 21-14. We're going to do it one more time. Pick 6. Next thing you go from being up 21. They score 28 unanswered points. You going in at halftime down by 7.
Yeah.
So you got to understand the type of football he's trying to play. Now, granted, it needs to be better. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things that he probably tell you they need to clean up, but ultimately, he is trying to get I think he's really trying hard, these guys, to understand there's a skill. There's 2 skills that get overlooked right now in all like high school and youth sports. Playing hard and with the right intent is a skill now. It used to be guaranteed. Now kids think it's optional. So you have to do that first and foremost. And number 2, which is the most important, and some college coaches and programs, when they're evaluating players, put more emphasis on it. And obviously the pros sometimes do, especially at the quarterback position, is learning and knowing how to win. The greatest quarterback of all time is Tom Brady. He was a backseat to the defense, the running game, situational football for his first 2 Super Bowls. Right? I mean, that's fair. That's fair enough. Yeah. So that's where you got to start. Now, I'm not comparing Dylan to Tom Brady, but what I'm saying is you got to teach when you've lost so much, 1-score games, trick off sessions, leads that you just blown. I mean, people forget just a few years ago, right? When Logan Smothers had to step in for Adrian literally on a whim, because remember, Adrian got hurt against Wisconsin. Was it the second half of that game up there? And we were going back and forth with them there, right? And then Logan goes in the game. Now, we play Iowa at home.
Yeah, this was 2021 that you're referring to.
Okay, so it's 3 years ago. We beat the brakes off of Iowa up and down the field. right? Especially in that first half. What do we do in the second half? Start to kind of dink and dunk, throwing around a little bit, right? Getting out of our, what made us successful. One block punt, avalanche, Iowa walks off the field winning again.
Yeah, Iowa scored 14 points in that fourth quarter alone to win 28-21 over Nebraska. That was a season where Nebraska was 3-3 going into a matchup at home, that Michigan game at home against top 10 Michigan that you once again unfumbled in the last couple of minutes of the game. Adrian fumbled. Nebraska goes 3-4 after that one, loses their remaining games, finishes 3-9 in 2021. They finished out the 3 games of that season against number 5 Ohio State that you lost 26-17, at 15th ranked Wisconsin that you lost 35-28, like you mentioned, and then at home against 16th ranked Iowa, lost 28-21.
Right.
That's the game that Logan had to start.
Right. And those are the games where you kind of got and had the lead in majority of those games.
Yes.
So you had in a sizable lead against Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up going 4-8 in that season. You beat Iowa, who was a well-respected program, and they went to a big bowl. Okay, the bowl game doesn't matter. You beat Iowa. You showed you could do something you normally couldn't do. So the opposite of it was what they did tonight. Now, look, Northern Iowa and Iowa, there's not a comparison, even though they like to run the ball. So that what they were trying to do, they tried to take the air out of the ball a little bit. And obviously they played a lot of guys as well. So, I mean, that's not saying that, it's like where you kind of limp to a 20-point victory when like Nebraska basketball is playing against, say, like Westland or something. But also you got to teach guys how to win. You got to teach the whole team how to win. The whole team.
I think there's something also to be said of after an emotional game against Colorado, because there was a lot of just emotion tied into that one.
Yeah.
This one did not have the energy, the buzz pregame, even just around the city. Like I was telling Austin during our pregame show, like you can just feel that it's not a Colorado-esque opponent. You could feel that there wasn't as much energy just around the city of Lincoln before the game. But once again, unlike in the recent years, Nebraska took care of business and wins it convincingly.
Yeah, I think, look, the Colorado game, I think, was a year in the making.
Yes.
And then not every coach is Deion Sanders. Not every quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. Not every safety or whatever is Shiloh. And,
nationally televised.
And you're right. Yes. Nationally televised. A lot of lead up through the off season as well.
Mm-hmm.
Travis Hunter, the best player in the nation. And Nebraska, beat I guess a game UTEP team that it has the youngest staff that you just never knew.
Yeah.
Right. And then Colorado did their thing. It squeaked out a victory, kind of like against the same team. And then look, because it's so early in the season, and both coaches this is their second year. And Colorado said that they've gotten better through the transfer portal, and so is Nebraska through recruiting and development and what they've shown. And then obviously the few guys we got in the transfer portal. So the stars aligned for this game, and all eyes were in Lincoln, Nebraska. And was it going to be different? Were we just happy to be there because we were getting a lot of bright lights? Then you have all these other, kind of characters that come in, and then you play another night game, which is a little bit, different animal itself. And sure, the energy isn't going to be the same because Northern Iowa probably didn't travel as much with Colorado fans. And Colorado fans are different than Northern Iowa fans, right? So the game itself is different, right? We hate Colorado and they hate us, and that's and it's the first time we played Northern Iowa. But ultimately, I think they came out offensively, in general, I think they came out it was actually, to me, a little bit surprising. I thought they would start slower because of the potential letdown.
Yeah.
But they started they came right out of the gates, and they walked the ball down the field. Now you got to continue to do that and have effective drives throughout the whole game.
Well, and to the offensive staff's credit, all 3 games to this point, they've came out and been sustainable, successful on their opening couple of drives, on their first couple of drives, excuse me.
Yeah, and they've been able to do whatever they want. Now, what we also have to understand as like evaluators and fans, the coaches on the other side of the field are allowed to make adjustments, and so are the players. So they're just not going to just keep doing the same things that hadn't been effective for them in the first couple drives.
Yeah.
They're going to make adjustments, and that's the way usually games go. Colorado made an adjustment. They felt like they played better in the second half. It probably showed a little bit tonight when they were able to go to and beat Colorado State on the road, right? Whereas they feel like defensively they played a little bit better. Where Nebraska, I think that, we felt like we could continue to be sustainable offensively and gotten a little bit better to continue to drive it down. Now, we like touchdowns when we got down to the red zone, but we're able to get a, spring a run and put the nail in the coffin by being physical with Emmett. So there's positive both ways, but also you have to understand the parity of college football allows, and especially when you have a program that has a coach and an identity entrenched in that university. They know exactly who they are. They recruit to that base or to that identity, and they develop to that identity as well. And then it ends up working out pretty dang good for them. But, unfortunately for them, Nebraska beat them pretty handily tonight.
You mentioned a couple of minutes ago that people may forget as we sit here and talk about and not pick apart, but in an okay way, pick apart the 34-3 win and Nebraska being 3-0 for the first time since 2016. You mentioned people might forget the conversations that were being had around this program in recent years. And if for Husker fans out there that maybe don't feel great for whatever reason personally about this win tonight, or, and say, well, look deeper than just the score. Think about the conversations that Florida State's having right now, that Florida's having right now. Yeah. Completely different vibe around their programs, playing similar caliber of opponents that Nebraska's playing. Yeah. And Nebraska, for what feels like a unique situation that they've been in compared to recent years, is sitting here 3-0. Like, think about the conversations that's going on in Tallahassee. You and I were texting about it back and forth earlier today. They're 0-3.
Yeah.
After they went and spent the quote unquote big money on a transfer portal quarterback, they maybe didn't do some other things well. Those conversations are the ones that Nebraska was having back in 2022 or 2021, I suppose.
Yeah, we've had those conversations for quite some time without, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what it looks like, especially at those two schools, especially Florida.
Oof.
That will pull the plug on a coach real quick, and it's kind of like a toxic type of environment around their athletic department. Florida State as well, a lot of pressure and expectations, probably talked themselves into a preseason top 10 ranking, but had a really good transfer portal recruiting class as well. Their 4 defensive linemen are supposed to be NFL guys. They're just not playing up to expectations. So we've been there multiple times, but it's a good thing, I think. Well, first of all, I think it's twofold. I think my grandma used to always tell me this: how soon they forget, how soon some of us have forgotten where Nebraska was. Now, this is not, pulling the wool over us, but it's the facts.
Yeah.
20-some months ago, we were having different conversations about everything going on in the program.
Even last year, post Colorado and Boulder, there were conversations, not the conversations of firing guys and moving on, but just the what's next.
Well, I think maybe, but it's more or less not as much. It's just like, are we cursed in our system? Yeah. Then we started getting it going. But the years prior, there were some times that dang, there is no improvement. I mean, you gotta think, we walked around with our chest. We had people out here, on Twitter, oh, we're the best 3-9 team of all time. Remember that? I mean, because I think the point differential was 0, wasn't it?
Yes.
Right. So now we're winning games, and it's not as aesthetically pleasing as everybody, and it's great. So now it's okay, now we got brand new, as I like to say. But then now it's a good problem, because actually you're having some success, and you want that success to be even better. So it's a good problem to have, but we just got to be a little bit more realistic. So anyways, we're going to take a quick break. This is Jay Foreman After Game Show. We'll come right back. We got a couple more segments.
We can go as long as we need to here. Yeah. But I think there's a lot to look ahead to. Right.
Oh, we got to start looking at Illinois.
Well, Illinois, obviously, right. And even weeks after, not after that, but the rest of the Big Ten, how did they fare today? Because Indiana is one of those programs that is 3-0 under.
Yeah, we got to run down there. Listen.
Ohio State sucks. Purdue sucks.
Oh, well, Purdue, geez.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, your boy Marcus Freeman. The question of the day is, did Marcus Freeman wear pants that fit him?
But most importantly, Illinois next Friday night.
Friday night, short week. They held up their end of the bargain. We've more than held up ours. 2 ranked teams most likely come Friday night, 6:30. It's going to be on like butter popcorn. So we're going to take a quick break, come back. We'll dive into the rest of the Big Ten, a little bit of Illinois, and what to expect with that type of team and that type of coach, especially Brett Bielema as a Big Ten stalwart. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Hey, bestie. Whoa, how'd you snag that awesome set of wheels? I'm in the market for a new car, too.
My friends at Members Own Credit Union. You're always in the driver's seat when it comes to your finances at Members Own.
Always in the driver's seat, huh?
Yep. They set you up with a loan that makes sense for your budget with great rates and top-notch customer service to boot.
Looks like we're going to need to make a pit stop.
Let's go. I'll drive. Hit the road to financial success and explore auto loan options with your best financial friend, Members Own Credit Union. For details, go to membersowncu.org/drive. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Hey, Nebraska football fans, it's defensive lineman Ty Robinson, and I've got a winning play for you with Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical. Team up with Action and install a new Bradford white water heater in your home. And if we win the conference championship this season, you'll get a full refund. Don't fumble this opportunity. Sack your old water heater this season and score big with Action. Visit actionlincoln.com/Huskers to learn more.
Promotion valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With a wide variety of menu options, including the best prime and Wagyu steaks in Lincoln, if you haven't been to Tavern 180, you're missing out. Try any of their steak options paired with one of their well-known martinis, and this will soon become your favorite date night spot. Call your friends for a casual get-together where steak, shrimp, chicken, and tasty cocktails await your arrival. Tavern 180, located next door to Tanner's at 30th and Yankee Hill.
I can't believe I just scratched that card. Find my insurance card.
Dude, what do you have in this glove box? Ew, are these socks dirty?
Oh, forget about the socks. I need my insurance card.
Just pull it up on the State Farm mobile app.
But I can do that? Oh, hey, I can do that.
Yep, it's called service.
I can file a claim on here too?
Yeah, it's called service.
Whoa, I can call my agent too?
It's called service.
Call your local State Farm agent, Vinny Krekak, at 402-474-1173.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Sea-Doo dealership. Score up to $300 off or a free 2-year warranty on 2024 Sea-Doo Sparks and $500 off or a free 2-year warranty on all other brand new 2024 Sea-Doos. Rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of September. On or off-road, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered with a large selection of motorcycles and watercraft in stock at their new 27th and I-80 location. Hurry in, the clock is running down.
This is Chris Elgert, loan originator at Lincoln Federal. With over 20 years in the industry, I have found it's extremely gratifying to solve my customers' home financing needs and then show them the options and strategies available for them to fulfill their goals. But my biggest reward comes when I watch my valued customers experience the American dream of home ownership and move into their new home. Talk with me about your home loan at Lincoln Federal and Go Big Red. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Personal banking like you remember.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
MWR is dedicated to building attractive, affordable steel buildings that exceed your expectations. From commercial or residential to agricultural storage, steel buildings are cost-effective, attractive, and versatile. Plus, they're a lasting investment and an ideal choice. MWR uses Sentinel Building Systems out of Albion and can service you all over the state and region. If you have interest in a steel building, post frame building, or fencing, give MWR a call today at 402-980-5273 or go to MWRbuildingandfence.com. Attention students and anyone else looking for a great deal. Sun Valley Lanes and Games has the ultimate weeknight special. For just $15.95, enjoy unlimited bowling, lucky putt mini golf, and laser tag. Flash your college ID at check-in to receive $2 off your admission. It's the perfect way to unwind Sunday through Thursday nights. Check out sunvalleylanes.com for hours and availability. Sun Valley Lanes and Games, located at 321 Victory Lane.
Lincoln's best place to meet, eat, and compete. Sun Valley.
At Anderson Ford, we offer a 5-day return or exchange policy so you can make sure the vehicle you choose is the best vehicle for you. No pressure. Lease a 2024 Ford F-150 for $437 per month for 36 months. Experience better at Anderson Ford. Stock number 1004120, 437 per month, lease for 36 months with approved credit, 7,500 miles per year, 5,500 dual signing, no security deposit required. Tax, title, and license fees extra. Residency restrictions apply. Program subject to change. Must take new retail delivery from Anderson Auto Group by 9/30/2024. See dealer for details.
At Jimmy John's, we don't make sandwiches. We make the sandwich of sandwiches. We use fresh veggies because we don't hate salads. We just feel bad for them. We make our sandwiches exactly how you want because you're the one who's eating it. And we bake bread all day, every day because stale bread isn't bread. It's croutons. Sandwich history is written by the victors. Good thing we have legible handwriting. Jimmy John's, the sandwich of sandwiches. Order pickup or delivery on the app.
Concerts keep rolling at Pinewood Bowl with a great show on Wednesday, September 18th. Bare Naked Ladies headlines with Toad the Wet Sprocket starting things off at 7 p.m. for a trip down 90s memory lane. Don't miss Bare Naked Ladies and Toad the Wet Sprocket on Wednesday, September 18th at Pinewood Bowl. Get tickets today at Ticketmaster.com.
Jay Foreman Postgame Show. Sponsored by Anderson Ford, Tanner's Bar and Grill, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Tavern 180, Vinnie Kreekak of State Farm Insurance, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical.
Man. What up? We're back. Jay Foreman, Austin Orman, or Jay Foreman, Nick Singer. My bad. My bad. Yeah, that's my dude. Even though you guys tried to light me up today.
Did you guys see Jay Foreman on the broadcast? Text in 402-464-5685.
This dude here.
Did you see him on Big Ten Network? Hanging in the shadows, hanging in the background. There he was.
Something wrong with you guys, man.
Did you guys hear Rhett Lewis, the sideline reporter, mention Jay Foreman?
I know Rhett, though.
I know you do, and that's why I texted you and I said, hey, I know you and Rhett are boys.
Rhett's a good dude, man.
I met Rhett at Big Ten Media Days.
He don't care about you.
He doesn't.
You know what?
But
I will not talk to Rhett Indiana week now. It's a game. Speaking of Indiana, your boy Signetti, who came in and had the iconic, I guess, introductory. It wasn't even a press conference where they showed up at a basketball game. He said, Ohio State sucks. Purdue sucks. Everybody sucks. And he's here to win. And then he said, he's won everywhere he's been. And he told the reporter, Google me.
Yeah.
Well, we Googled you. And, I will say this. I watched their spring game. And usually in the first year, things can kind of look kind of shaky. It was well organized. The speed was there. They're a smaller team, but you could and they had two capable quarterbacks. Obviously, they've, honed in on one. But you could tell that he brought a lot of players from that level that he was at. Very comfortable with what he does and what type of offense he runs and who he is. And obviously, thinks very highly of himself. Look, the one thing is you got to also look at the coach, where he's at in his career. And, look, he's a little bit older. I think he's 62. Not that he's too old, but this is probably the apex, the height of his coaching career, unless he knocks out of the park at Indiana. And it's a school that he feels he can be successful at. And he went out to UCLA with his Indiana Hoosiers and beat the brakes off of them.
42-13.
42-13. It was never close. They're 3-0. They got Curtis, was it Roki or whatever?
Yeah, Rorick, the transfer from Ohio. That's what I was just going to say. He did step one that a coach needs to do when he gets into a new spot.
Find a quarterback. Find a quarterback. Not really a big running team, but, they split up 20 carries in between two guys, about almost 4 yards a carry. So they run just enough, right? Not a lot of explosive run plays. But when you look at the 25 receptions, right? 6, 4, 4, 3, 3, 4. He's spreading the ball around. That's just who he is. So what he's trying to do, 53 and a third, and make you play defense, tackle up in the open field, out athletic you in short spaces, and see how well you want to play like football or basketball on grass. But defensively, I think is what you really need to look at. For them to, only hold UCLA to 13 points, which isn't a big feat, but still you do it. They've rushed the passer decently. They've had an interception both games or 3 games. So it lets you know they're getting some hands, on balls and stuff like that. So I think when we look around the whole Big Ten, I didn't envision them to be in 3-0, but I also didn't envision, UCLA being that bad. But you know what? They're 3-0, which is obviously better for us. We already talked about the Nebraska game. But the other game right here was the big game today at 11. Alabama Slammers going up there to Madison.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Wisconsin, they can say, well, we were obviously thrown for a loop. Van Dyke got hurt very early. Looks like a knee injury. Took the air out of the whole game. But Alabama, when the second week in a row, when they step on the gas, Nick, it's all 3 phases, and they have the continuity. Once one gets going, the other one gets going, then the third one gets going, and they just left Wisconsin in the dust 42-10. Now, I will say, look, when you lose 42-10, the way that they lost, whereas like you think Alabama's offense was able to run it, they were explosive in the pass game. Defensively, they were effective as far as Alabama was. They destroyed you. Got a big offensive line from Wisconsin. They destroyed you up front. So now Luke Fickell, with obviously a quarterback injury, gonna have to get somebody trained up to play, right? I think it's Burke. And then also try to find a new identity with the new quarterback, because a lot was dependent on Van Dyke. Van Dyke's a good player.
Yeah.
He was projected at one point in time, I think 2 years ago, possibly being a first-round pick, and then it's been injury history.
Been viewed as a Heisman contender going into seasons.
So the talent is there.
Yes.
You just got, the injury bug is obviously at the forefront. And so now, unlike Luke Fickell's first year when they brought in like 8 quarterbacks and just say, hey, you guys just figure it out, the guy that they wanted out of the portal isn't going to be healthy. And they have a little bit more talent than people give them credit for on the outside. And then let's move to Michigan. 28-18 over Arkansas State. Listen, the first half, they looked like, okay, yeah, this. Okay, yeah. They got it going more.
Well, and you know what they did? They ran the ball.
Ran the ball.
Donovan Edwards had like 75 rushing yards at the half.
Right.
They had another dude that had over 60. They ran the ball. They kept the ball out of their quarterback's hands.
Yes.
The quarterback that they eventually had to bench in Davis Warren.
Yeah, I was just about to say Davis Warren was on the hot seat coming into the game. You go into halftime up 21-3. And then next thing you know, Butch Jones and Arkansas State start getting going.
He's still there.
Yeah. He's on the super hot seat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if and you know what? He's kind of like Tom Allen. Remember when Tom Allen kept it close against Ohio State? This is what Butch Allen did, Butch Jones did. And so it's not as a bad loss as it looks. But more importantly, Michigan was able to bounce back after getting trounced by Texas. If you look at the first half, you're like, okay, this is the Michigan team that we thought that Moore was at least going to just be able to travel with.
Yeah.
Defense, Ernest Hausman made a couple plays, and then eventually would just wear you out. And then you were thinking this game was going to be like 42-10 or something like that. Well, the defense went to sleep. So did the offense. And next thing you know, I wouldn't say you're in a dogfight, but Michigan's going home thinking like, did we get a lot fixed?
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things that you have to really, really evaluate and really understand of like where Michigan's at. When you look at Alex Orji that comes off, he's not a passer at all. I mean, he averages 3 yards. They don't have a quarterback.
And that's what I was just going to say. Look at what we just talked about with Indiana and what you look at, like Nebraska is a fine example from 2023 compared to now this season to this extent. What's the main difference between Michigan of last year? You can say everything you wanted about J.J. McCarthy, but from an operating the offense standpoint, J.J. McCarthy looks light years better than any option that Michigan has this year. And it was something that they did not address in the offseason, whether that was because they didn't view it as an issue
Yeah.
or because they just, essentially they didn't view it as an issue.
I think J.J. McCarthy masked a lot of things. And also I think J.J. McCarthy 2 years ago is better than anybody they got, like Warren or Orgy right now.
Yeah.
Also, I will tell you this. Orgy number 10, when he came off the bench last year, he looked a lot better and more viable as a quarterback then. You know what I'm saying? Because you're coming off and you're like the relief pitcher or like the backup. So you look really, really good.
And everybody's favorite is the backup.
Right. But then you're coming in favorable situations.
Yes.
You remember he came in as an RPO guy, kind of really, re-energized that offense when they fell asleep a little bit against Ohio State and different times throughout the year. Now he's the guy, or was supposed to be the guy, and I don't know who. It's a flip of a coin. It doesn't matter. And Michigan's got a ton of talent. You could just look at the recruiting rankings.
Yeah.
Quarterback's a problem. Now we're on to we'll do another team that hadn't been playing good. Let's do Oregon State.
Yeah.
Rivalry game. You think, okay, there's going to, Trent Bray's taking over, former Nebraska linebacker coach. He's the head coach, defensive coordinator out there.
I like Trent.
I do.
I think that's a really good fit for Oregon State.
But they lost a lot too.
Yes.
They lost their head coach. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost the quarterback. They lost a couple of their linemen to the league. One very good offensive lineman down there in New Orleans.
Yes.
He's throwing gats out the club.
I like Trent Bray for Oregon State.
And Oregon hadn't been playing well. Well, today they played well. They changed up their offense a little bit. Got Dylan Gabriel. I saw a quarterback power. They 35 pointed at Oregon State. Then let's go to the next shellacking. Notre Dame with your boy Marcus Freeman. Northern Illinois told him, listen, whatever Coach Hammock told him, Marcus Freeman worked.
Yeah.
And they put up 66 points. Notre Dame's offense, I don't care if you're going against Purdue, and Purdue has one that, if not the best safety, or Downs is the best safety. He is easily the top 2 or 3 safety in as a true sophomore. And they had a pretty decent defense with a defensive head coach last year. There's no way in the world I saw Notre Dame scoring 66 points.
Yeah.
Big ups to them, but Purdue is in trouble.
Well, and that takes us into Illinois, I would assume, is next.
Yep, that was
right?
it.
One piece of Illinois that people might, this kind of got under the radar, pushed under the rug in the offseason, because I didn't realize this until I was doing some deep dives at Big Ten Media Days, Jay. Illinois' starting running back from last year, Reggie Love, transferred to Purdue. So Illinois doesn't have Reggie Love the third anymore. Now Purdue does, who had both Maccabee and Reggie Love.
Right.
They went out a couple of years ago when Ryan Walters got there, who was the defensive coordinator at Illinois. Ryan Walters leaves, goes to be the head coach at Purdue, addresses the quarterback situation by going out and getting Hudson Card. Has Maccabee, who initially went into the portal, then went back to Purdue as a walk-on.
And we saw him.
And we saw what he did against Nebraska a couple of years ago in West Lafayette. And now they went out and got a quality Big Ten starter at the running back position. Purdue, coming off of a bye week, gets embarrassed against Notre Dame. And Illinois is sitting here 3-0 ahead of a potential ranked-on-ranked matchup against Nebraska.
Yeah, and in Central Michigan, they were 1-1 coming in, not very good offensively, but Illinois, where, Luke Altmaier, obviously, 19-29. He's kind of like a better version of North Dakota State's quarterback, can throw a little bit. I've watched him. I watched the very first game, I think against Southern Illinois or Illinois State or something like that. And they're trying to be more explosive this year. Explosive meaning vertical routes and bang eights, which is a skinny post and all that. So they're trying to do some more things. Now they had Fagan and then they got McCray.
Yes.
Those are the 2 backs, and Fagan's a big old dude. So we're just kind of like we said, it's kind of like the same running backs we've seen tonight.
And with a multi-year starter at quarterback.
Right. That enjoys. What Luke Altmaier reminds me of? He's the quarterback that thinks he can run around and make a couple plays, and he thinks it's funny, and he'll be like laughing and stuff like that. You gotta really strike him to slow him down. And then Brett Bielema knows how to coach in the Big Ten. I think Nebraska matches up well against these guys. I think they feel very comfortable going against their receivers, and so it's going to be a hard task, obviously, but you got to go out there and earn it. And I think it's a great matchup for us as far as Nebraska goes, because we get to try to take it upon ourselves defensively and try to win this game here.
Let's hear from Matt Rhule before I get Jay's keys to what's the one thing Nebraska really needs to hone in on before next Friday. Here's Matt Rhule on the plan for the short week.
Yeah, well, last year we were going in this game, we just lost to Michigan, and we put on pads and practiced on Sunday. So maybe a little different tenor this week. But, even there, as I was walking out, Marquise Buford was making it very clear to everybody, like, coming in here tomorrow ready to work. Normally Sunday's our off day. We do a big family dinner with the players' families and our families. We won't be able to do that tomorrow. It'll be a work day for us. And our off day this week will be next Saturday. So we'll work tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The great thing is we're not traveling. Our Friday game is, obviously at the end of the season versus Iowa. But we'll work tonight. We'll work tomorrow. Because it was a night game, I had a chance to watch their game today. We worked some today, worked some yesterday to be prepared for Illinois, and we'll see what happens.
How big of a key, before I get to that, Jay, how big of a key is it and benefit is it that Nebraska hasn't had to go on the road yet?
Well,
they get their first 4 games are going to be at home.
Yeah, that's what. Well, last year, that's not how you want to start your tenure as a head coach. It would go to 2 really hard places to play. You go in conference, Big Ten in Minnesota, then you turn around and go into a hornet's nest, and it was rocking last year up there in Boulder, where you get 4 at home. But then I think obviously if the business that they handle, as far as the players handle their business correctly, come in with the right mindset, and you like the leadership of Buford and other guys come in and understand it's a work day. Being at home, especially for this game on a Friday on a short week, is advantageous for Nebraska. Now you got to make that advantage come to fruition, which is go out there and play well, and obviously hopefully lead us to victory. But yeah, it's good to be at home, get some good feelings, and get that confidence going. It's been 3 different games, as far as how they played out, but also I think it's being able to be multifaceted and finish off games. And so, Illinois is going to provide a test. If I'm right now, if I was going home to, I don't know, I assume they live in apartments or whatever, I'm thinking like, okay, we got to win. Let's try to dominate this game on defense. Let's show Illinois what a defense is, and let's shut down this new kind of Illinois offense while we're at home next week.
So then if you're Matt Rhule, what's number 1 on the docket to address this week going into Illinois, knowing what's ahead of you, right? Like, is it the rush defense, or are you not as concerned about that because you're so veteran laden? Is it? And the answer, Jay, can't be all of the above.
Yeah, well,
because I know how you operate, man.
How's that? You think I'm a politician?
No, you would say, well, you got to work on everything. I'm not letting you say
no. If you think you got to work on everything, you're gonna work. You do work on everything, but if you're out there trying to stop, I would tell you this: the worst thing you can do is try to stop every single play they run. Mm-hmm. That means you end up not stopping anything towards the end of the game. So I think to go against a team like Illinois, I think I like working on first and second down. We got to win first and second down, so we can be in favorable positions defensively on third down. We got to get them off schedule. We got to establish the line of scrimmage. We have got to tackle well. We have got to play with better energy and more intensity. And then obviously third down, obviously we want to, lock in on they have one receiver and he was there last year, I think Bryant. Yeah. So that's his target. And then, you probably want to do things like you want to get the quarterback off his mark. And then obviously, the turnovers. Low turnovers and getting turnovers, that's every single week. But I think defensively, the most important thing is winning first and second down, clear communication. I think it's going to be jacked up here on Friday. Then offensively, I think conventional run game. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, getting Dillon in the offense in favorable positions on third down and being able to do what we've always done and kind of spread the ball around. Now, this is going to be this is going to be our best test. But I would leave the team with this. Yes, Illinois is going to be a test, right? And we need to prepare for them. But we're preparing ourselves for them to prepare for us.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the most important. We play our game, we win. Mm-hmm. Right? And so that's a great thing. It's something that we haven't been in a position to do so.
There you have it.
There it is.
34-3, Jay.
That's right. 3-0, baby. We'll be 4-0 next Friday night. Late, but it's all good in the hood.
We'll be here.
That's right. I know I will.
There'll be an opportunity. Like that's the thing is there's another piece of that we did not discuss about Nebraska. And once again, comparing it to the recent years, despite it being a different staff, has had the opportunity on a Thursday, on a Friday night to show out.
This is like mini bowl games. And you know what? You got to be appreciative of it. It's a great schedule. It sets up well for us. And so it's a maturity game. That what this game was. We were mature enough to get through it. Maturity season. Hey, man, there is nothing better getting ready to play a game like Illinois. You get ready for a fight.
3-0.
Straight up street fight. Bring it.
3-0.
There
All
it
right,
is.
Jay.
All right, we're out of here. Jay Foreman Postgame Show. We'll be back next week. And I'll be up here tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning for Inside the Huddle. We'll holla at you.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Sea-Doo dealership. Score up to $300 off or a free 2-year warranty on 2024 Sea-Doo Sparks and $500 off or a free 2-year warranty on all other brand new 2024 Sea-Doos. Rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of September. On or off-road, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered with a large selection of motorcycles and watercraft in stock at their new 27th and I-80 location. Hurry in, the clock is running down.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion.